Between the hills, the stars, the sky, the river so clear, river so clear.
Back to Zoom. All right, let us join in a spirit of meditation, reflection, or prayer as we deepen into our service and share our opening words for this morning, which from the Graham Hymnal 589, Peace. Peace means the beginning of a new world. It means that nations are friends. It means joy to the world. Peace is quiet and calm. It is rest. It is silence after the storm. It is love and friendship. It is the worlds of dreams and dreams. Peace brings comfort and happiness. It brings bread to the hungry. It brings prosperity to the nations. It means the strong respect the weak, the great respect the small, and the many respect the few. It's like spring after winter. It brings sunshine into the world. It is like sweet music after harsh sounds.
Hello, my name is Ken Pentel, and I'm with the Ecology Democracy Network. Can everyone hear me? And I'm here. I'm here today to talk about the Genuine Progress Indicator. The Ecology Democracy Network, our main goal is to reverse ecological overshoot. Because right now it takes about 1.8 planets to provide our needs on Earth right now. So meaning that we're living beyond carrying capacity, as many of you know. And natural systems are not able to regenerate themselves in a sustainable way. So we're caught after about July 29th of this last year. We went beyond the carrying capacity of the Earth to regenerate groundwater, topsoil, habitats, and biodiversity. And the efforts that I'm working on is to change the way one of the components to reversing ecological overshoot and trying to get into some sort of what would be considered homeostasis, a range where we grow and decompose in balance with our habitat. That's the main goal. So some call it a steady state, some call it sustainability. There's different words for it, but the most important thing is that we are locked into overshooting on the planet right now, overusing our habitats. And the goal of the network is to reverse this. And one of the components is how do we calculate or do accounting for the planet's economy, basically. And that's one of the drivers right now that's leading towards overshoot, because the dominant economic signal that we are chasing on the planet since for close to 80 plus years is the gross domestic product. The gross domestic product, which is considered the most dominant economic signal on the planet right now. 200 nation states calculate their economies using gross domestic product accounting. In the GDP, which is the acronym for the gross domestic product, sets pricing, interest rates, and budgeting. If we go 2 negative quarters of GDP in the US, for example, it's considered a benchmark for a recession. So the GDP, the gross domestic product, is a growth imperative. Now we grow and decompose on Earth in balance, as I mentioned, some sort of homeostasis that we live in, a range of growth and decomposition on the planet since we've been born. But what the GDP does is it takes us beyond that homeostasis. It basically requires us to grow every quarter. That's the objective of supposedly a successful economy. And as I mentioned, we're already well beyond carrying capacity on the planet. So to continue to keep growing would continue to lead us towards greater and greater stress in overusing habitat Earth. The GDP as an accounting system, for example, when people think about it as an abstract number, in reality, GDP leads, yes, it starts out as a very complicated accounting system, but then it leads towards things that are visceral in our everyday lives. So right now, for example, in the United States, tens of millions of people are online. They're buying products. People are walking into stores. Hundreds of millions of people on Earth are purchasing products based upon a number called a price. And that price is an outcome of the gross domestic product. That's an end outcome of it. And if that price is not accurate in its accounting, if that price does not include the cost of the items we purchase, the energy we purchase, the plastics we purchase, the food we purchase, if it does not include the cost, then it can be very dangerous if we keep using that method of accounting and the prices that we see. Also, the outcome of the gross domestic product, like in Minnesota, for example, and in every state in the country and the United States as a whole. In Minnesota, we do our state forecast every November and February. Basically, what's the projected revenues for the state of Minnesota? That forecast shapes the governor's budget. That budget is then parsed out in spreadsheets and committees. Those committees then make decisions on healthcare, housing, education, the earth, how we take care of our planet, and so on. And once again, though that budget, those spreadsheets, those decisions in committee are predicated on GDP accounting. So it comes home to people in their daily lives how the state parses out the monies that are needed for the basic needs of our society. So that is the power of the gross domestic product. And the gross domestic product is an accounting system that basically is just an aggregate number. It's addition. It only is basically one column entry bookkeeping. It just shows the aggregate amount of what I describe it as a monetary footprint within a domestic economy, how much money is being spent within the economy. There's different ways of defining it. The GDP has been challenged for the last 80 years by numerous economists, even the person who helped invent the gross domestic product, Simon Kuznets. He basically said that the GDP should not be considered a measure of economic welfare for a society. This was Robert Kennedy speaking about, at this time, the gross national product, which is generally synonymous with the gross domestic product. This was from 1968. It's 2 minutes from a Kansas speech he made in, I believe, April of 1968. So hopefully you can hear this. I'm just going to play it.
Too much and for too long, we seem to have surrendered personal excellence and community value in the mere accumulation of material things. Our gross national product now is over $800 billion a year. But that gross national product, if we judge the United States of America by that gross national product counts air pollution and cigarette advertising and ambulances to clear our highways of carnage. It counts special locks for our doors and the jails for the people who break them. It counts the destruction of the redwoods and the loss of our natural wonder in chaotic sprawl. It counts napalm, and it counts nuclear warheads and armored cars for the police to fight the riots in our cities. It counts Whitman's rifle and Speck's knife and the television programs which glorify violence in order to sell toys to our children. Yet the gross national product does not allow for the health of our children, the quality of their education, or the joy of their play. It does not include the beauty of our poetry, or the strength of our marriages, the intelligence of our public debate, or the integrity of our public officials. It measures neither our wit nor our courage, neither our wisdom nor our learning, neither our compassion nor our devotion to our country. It measures everything in short, except that which makes life worthwhile. and it can tell us everything about America, except why we are proud that we are Americans.
But the gist is that the gross domestic product is a measure that basically would say that, let's say the money spent to contaminate a water system, money spent to purchase products that lead towards contamination of water system, shows as a credit on the state or national or global spreadsheet right now. The money we then spend to try to clean that up, remediation through monitoring, permitting, filtration, so on and so forth, that money also shows up as a credit on the GDP spreadsheet. So the incentive basically is to continue to contaminate the water system because it improves the gross domestic product. So that is one of the dysfunctions of the gross domestic product. In the Genuine Progress Indicator, which emerged around 1995 as an alternative composite economic signal to the gross domestic product, once you've contaminated a water system, then all the money spent to try to clean that up, all the health effects, immune deficiency, birth defects, cancer, so on, that would show up as a cost on the spreadsheet, not a credit. When you shift from a credit to a cost on the spreadsheet, it changes incentive and it changes behavior. Now it becomes less attractive to contaminate the water system up front before, up front, and it leads towards prevention rather than dealing with it after the fact, which is what we're doing right now with the gross domestic product. So that's one example of the difference between the way we measure using the gross domestic product and the Genuine Progress Indicator. Another difference would be in the gross domestic product, for example, somebody could wake up 5:30 in the morning in Bismarck or in northern Minnesota or wherever, 5:30 in the morning, they tend to the animals, the kids, the cleaning, the cooking, the mending, till 9 at night for 40 years. In the gross domestic product, that activity does not show up because no money has been exchanged. In the Genuine Progress Indicator, it would value someone who takes care of a home, because somebody who takes care of a home is essential to the health of maintaining continuity of a family, community, social stability, so on and so forth. So where the GDP, the dominant economic signal that everyone's chasing on Earth right now, where the GDP does not value non-monetized activity, the Genuine Progress Indicator does. And it would add a column in the state spreadsheet or the national spreadsheet that shows that value. Because right now on Earth, according to the United Nations, about 53% of the world's work are people taking care of their homes. This would also include in-home care of children and elderly as well. So what would happen is that in committees among legislatures, what would happen is they would be given, with the Genuine Progress Indicator, they would be given an alternative spreadsheet, alternative accounting, which would paint a picture differently about the overall health of our states or our nation or our planet. And so once a policymaker sits in committee and they're looking at a spreadsheet that paints a picture that shows the value of household work, then we can set policy accordingly and move forward with maybe setting up a social pension that values household work. And this would then start to stabilize and localize where people live and reduce a great deal of stress that a lot of people are feeling. And this would also apply to volunteerism as well. Right now, the gross domestic product does not value volunteerism. The Genuine Progress Indicator that I'm proposing and many other people are proposing would value the volunteer work in our communities. And so that's another example of the difference between the two measures. And a third difference that I'll give an example of has to do with allocation. In the gross domestic product, one person in Bismarck or one person in Minneapolis and St. Paul could gain all the benefits of productivity, and the GDP would improve because it doesn't care about allocation, it just cares about volume in the economy. In the genuine progress indicator, it would recognize basically what's known as marginal utility, meaning that $1,000 going to somebody making $40,000 a year has a different value than $1,000 going to somebody making $1 million a year. So where the GDP does not care about income inequality, the genuine progress indicator does. So that's another example of the difference between the two measures. Did that make sense? Did that make sense? What I just described?
Yes.
Okay, great. Great. So these are critical differences. And so the other issue I want to bring up is in the gross domestic product. Once again, dominant economic signal on Earth right now, as much as I didn't realize I'd be talking about this after 40 years of, or close to 40 years of organizing. But in the gross domestic product, it undervalues local and rural economies and overvalues urban suburban economies. So what we've seen the last 80 years while we've chased the gross domestic product, and there's, needless to say, there is so much we won't be able to discuss today, but this particular discussion to me is critical. It undervalues local and rural economies, overvalues urban suburban economies. So what we've seen is a migration, like in Minnesota, for example. 80 years ago, our rural population was about 52% of the population. Now it's down to about 17%. And according to our state demographer, that trend is going to continue for the next 40 years. So, and one of the reasons for this is the way the metro regions are so dependent on external resources for survival, energy, food, transportation. So metro regions pay money to purchase those products. And when you have a dense population spending a lot of money, that triggers the gross domestic product. And it says, that's where the value is in the economy. And so investments are made in that direction. And in rural areas, you've got people that are, many of them are far more self-reliant, self-sufficient, longer distances, less dense population, valuable activity, but not valued in the way we calculate the macro or the global state local economies. And so this has created an incredible gravitational pull from rural to urban the last 80 years. And we've seen major cities on Earth just ballooning in size and population. And we've seen this, like Shanghai or Beijing or Mexico City or Tokyo or Los Angeles or Minneapolis, St. Paul, and so on. And this is creating incredible stress on the planet. In the genuine progress indicator, it would reverse this, and it would start to lead towards localism, where it starts to reduce stress where people live. As I mentioned, when I mentioned the non-monetized activity, that's when you value somebody who takes care of a home, that starts to lead the economy to a local economy. When you start valuing the health of water, air, soil, and habitat, like the genuine progress indicator does, it starts to value biodiversity and the biological health of our planet. And so these are the types of outcomes the genuine progress indicator would lead us towards. It would start to recognize the limits of our habitats and recognize the health of those habitats as part of the health of the economy. It would recognize the value of non-monetized activity in our economy, and it would recognize the issue of allocation, not only income inequality, but also migratory patterns, and trying to lead towards stabilization, localization, and reducing the overall cost of living. And so I've given you a very brief overview of why we need to shift away from using the gross domestic product to the genuine progress indicator. Now, I should mention the genuine progress indicator, since it emerged in 1995, has been tested in Minnesota. We did a genuine progress indicator in 1999. Over 4 states have passed the genuine progress indicator into law since 2010, and has been using it in a cursory way. It hasn't been changing things in a visceral way like I would like it to. Right now, Oregon has a bill pending. Minnesota, we had a bill pending for a genuine progress indicator to be applied on a regular basis for the last 8 years. I'm looking for a chief author again in the Minnesota House. We have a bill pending on the federal level as well, House Resolution 4894, that we're working to get moved and get rally support behind and passed on the federal level. And then there's a global movement called Beyond GDP that's converging. Eventually, my take will converge at the United Nations by 2030. So there is a lot of recognition that the way we're calculating the economy right now is very, very dangerous. And it is accelerating the overshoot we're trying to prevent in relationship to the health of our planet. And so why do I believe in the genuine progress indicator so much? Now, I should mention also, 20 states have done genuine progress indicators in the United States. Over 30 nation states have done genuine progress indicators, at least at a national level or a subnational level. So it's considered the most scientifically vetted alternative to the gross domestic product on Earth right now. And so basically 3 reasons I think we should shift away from the gross domestic product to the genuine progress indicator is one, the genuine progress indicator is holistic. It meets the scale of the problem we're facing on Earth, and it's well vetted. So that's my case for the genuine progress indicator. And I'm grateful for this opportunity and thankful for you willing to give me the time to share this with you. Of course, contact me. Alicia has my contact information, the Ecology Democracy Network, and I'm willing to go into more depth about this because, like I say, I can go on for 10 hours about this. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts, but it's, to me, critical that we start applying different methods of accounting because, like I say, people are buying products right now based upon a price. If that price does not include the cost, we're in trouble. And that's what I'm trying to deal with in this discussion, is to a remedy for the danger we're facing in the way we are practicing our economy right now.
How did the gross domestic product become of value in the first place?
Well, the gross domestic product, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think that there was just a general concern coming out of the Great Depression. They were caught off guard, right, in the modern era. So the gross domestic product, it basically was a response to not being prepared for the Great Depression in around 1929. And so they assigned a team of people, economists, Simon Kuznets, who's the lead economist, to calculate basically aggregate monetary activity or goods and services within the national economy And so that was just kind of to a degree, somewhat of an innocent response to trauma. But then it started to be seen as a valuable tool for, some certain interests. After World War II, Bretton Woods, which set up a kind of the global economy at the time, they decided they were going to use the gross domestic product as a measure to compare nation by nation's, volume of their economies. And so it became kind of this homogenous form of accounting that did not take into account those ideas that you brought up, which is the biophysical limits of our planet, the work that's being done through home care. And I should mention, it intersects with gender issues because 53% of the world's work is home care. Women are doing about 60 to 70% of that work right now, according to the United Nations. So this deals with gender issues and in an important way, because women, yes, I believe in equal pay for equal work in the workplace, but here's this whole sphere of activity. Women are doing about 4.5 hours of housework a day. Men are doing about an hour and a half of housework a day. So there's this imbalance of how much time people are spending in their lives caring for their homes, but not being valued for that. And the gross domestic product never picked up on this. And it's a huge gap in our society's ability to plan and help support vital work that maintains the health of our communities.
And the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place for you and me. Just wait and see. Another day goes by and see the children cry. Put a love in your heart. Take a good look around, and if you're looking down, put a little love in your heart. And the world will be a better place, and the world will be a better place.